Hello, we are critical group number two, Lisa Carabello, Erica Gutierrez, and Jasmine Holder. Our focus was the analysis of policy, politics, and advocacy. In terms of policy, there's been various policies that we've been exposed to as educators in the field, along with the readings that we've gone through this past week. But the main thing that we've seen is, of course, the U.S. has taken measurements in the past, present, and hopefully in the future to really help students learn the English language. They have similar goals, of course, is to improve their academic achievement for these ELLs, and of course to close that ever-changing and growing academic gap between non-English speakers and fluent English speakers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be between Spanish and English. It should be more so labeled as between a student's L1 and L2. Within the readings, we've also discovered a specific educational program, which is a bilingual education program. In this program specifically, teachers are certified in bilingual education. The initial literacy is done in a child's home language, being their L1, while there is still some subject instruction in that L1. Finally, ESLs initially emphasized in subject matter instruction at students' level of English. So basically, the way we dissected that was that they're still getting that main exposure in their L1, and it's gradually being introduced in the L2 to avoid those children who are new to it to be so overwhelmed at once. Politics can be a very critical topic in terms of education in general, especially when it comes to the pros and cons of helping ELLs to make sure they're most successful in every aspect of their educational achievements. There are three specific educational laws that are based on basic rights for students in the U.S., in currently living in the U.S. and those coming from another country. The 14th Amendment was was created for equal protection of these ELLs in any classroom setting that they were to attend. Title VI bans discrimination in all sense, and that's why these educational acts, or I'm sorry, programs are being created in order to give more of a variety for students to choose. Different school districts here in El Paso vary as well. I know in the Socorro district we have bilingual classrooms that are titled bilingual. However, they are 100% English instruction, and there is actually, I don't want to say the forbidden, but pretty much they don't encourage any kind of Spanish speaking for these children. Truth be told, not a big fan of that, but that's the way it is in the SISD. The final one is the Equal Educational Opportunities Act, which allows individuals to overcome language barriers. And again, that's kind of going against certain programs, not just in my district, but maybe in the El Paso district, Isleta district, because we do vary so much. One important portion of the politics and the way they include these rights for these legislatures is the fact that they are doing a lot of data collection. I know it's not the best thing to put a statistic on children or a percentage, but in the end, data collection is very strong. And in the readings, the reparable harm, it does explain how data collection can actually support that monitoring, identify early signs of struggles or striving students, therefore going on to plan and respond in a quicker manner to help them as well. Advocacy on behalf of ELLs, I think as educators we do that on a daily basis, not just those. Sometimes maybe we don't serve ELLs, especially in, like I said, in my district, and I know there's other districts. They're very specific to it being a bilingual classroom or monolingual classroom, but we still serve as advocates every single day to help them benefit and be their most successful person in their education. Among the 6 programs that were introduced, they really and truly are intended to fully support support ELLs, but there's always still a question of how does it work for the long term. So for long-term English learners, how successful are they going to be once they leave that specific classroom? This will and can directly affect the advocates such as ourselves in the educational system as educators, parents, and even members of administration. And for example, in one of the readings, we also were just introduced to what the state of California is doing. They've narrowed their most vital recommendations to a mere 7 standards. The effects of the NCLB shined a huge light on the struggles young ELLs were still experiencing. And that goes back to standardized testing. A lot of parents and educators ourselves are not really fans of the standardized testing. It's widely known in Texas, no matter where you teach, you're going to be, in a sense, teaching to the test, and that's very critical for ELLs that are barely learning a language, having to sit down and be given a test that is, in my opinion, pretty biased and very straightforward, not looking for the factors of those that are struggling with their language. And again, it always comes full circle back to data collection. It still remains very monumental because the STAR test in itself is data collection. So it'll come back to see where exactly, who is lacking and in what department exactly. Closing the gap is a topic in the educational field that is very detailed, something that will not happen overnight, but that policymakers, stakeholders are really working to make sure that it does happen, and we're all making sure that we get the proper training to help in that sense, year to year as we move children up the next grade level and we receive new ones. And in truth be told, closing the gap is the No Child Left Behind Act's main goal. I know that act comes with its pros and cons from every advocate in the educational field, but that is its main goal. One of the biggest topics, deciding how long it takes for a child to become fluent in English as their second language, is really a big concern. We learned in the readings as well that there is a very detailed chart explaining the 6 different types of programs for ELLs to partake in any school setting. And some range from 1 to 2 years, some range 2 to 3 years, and some range from even 5 to 6. There was one in particular that ranged from 1 to 12 years. And that right there is a big concern, because some children come in the same from not knowing much in English and are put into different programs. So that in the end, that collection of data based on those programs is going to be significantly different. A really important quote that we wanted to add and explain was that policymakers who assume that minimal programs will fully close the achievement gap are really risking substantial penalties of the No Child Left Behind legislation. We need to be sure that we stray away from being it very basic, giving it a program that supposedly has to feed all types of ELLs, when in the end they're so widely ranging that it's a good thing to have them exposed to different ones until one is chosen for a specific maybe campus, a district, but it's always good to go back to the drawing board, redo some more data collection, and then go from there. A big component of this type of growth for ELLs is reflection.